Hello, parents. My name is Bob Nitko. I am the Educational Technology Specialist here at the American School for the Deaf. I am here with.
Hi, I'm Christa Bolen. I'm one of the school administrators and the curriculum and instruction specialist.
So today we'd like to have just a normal conversation with Christa and I, because we've gotten some emails, some phone calls and such around support for things at home. So what we want to do is just address some of those questions you have and concerns. And we're going to try to break it down in 3 sections. Google Classroom, typical school day, and then maybe some Zoom or Google Hangout meetings. So let's talk a little bit about a typical school day. So a parent is at home. I know they're working, and these are challenging times for all of us because I have 3 kids myself. We want to kind of maybe give parents a structure of what should a typical day look like for a son or daughter, and how should we structure that at home?
Absolutely. So it's going to look a little bit different depending on what age and grade level your child is in. Obviously, we have different expectations for our little ones than we do for some of our older students. But we do have a structure set up that sort of gives us some guidelines for about the typical number of hours that we would expect our students to be involved in schoolwork each day. And when you look at the elementary school kids, we're probably for pre-kindergarten and kindergarten, you're looking about an hour to an hour and a half of academic work per day. The teachers are going to provide some of that. Some of it will be some face-to-face opportunities. Some of it might be practicing things like letters and numbers, some basic math, things like that. Then when you move into a little bit of an older elementary school child, so once you get past preschool and kindergarten, grades 1 through 5, somewhere between 3 and 3.5 hours a day. This is going to vary depending on the child, depending on what they're able to do, what they're able to do independently. Most elementary school children typically see one homeroom teacher, and they may see some teachers for specials. So they'll get a little bit of variety in terms of what type of academic work is being expected of them. And the teacher is going to check in just about every day with the students, with the families, see what else they need to do. But again, you're looking at about 3 to 3.5 hours of things like reading, writing, maths, maybe some handwriting, things like that. Once you get to 6th grade, you're talking middle school and high school, so the expectations get a little bit more structured, and we're looking at about 4 hours per day for the students. What we also have is a modified school day schedule set up for these students. And the purpose of that school day schedule is so that the students know when they can check in with their teacher. So if they typically have a math class during period 2, that half hour of time that is set up for period 2 is scheduled for them to check in with that teacher. A teacher will have assignments already posted so they can ask questions about what's been posted. The teacher might host a short Zoom or Google Meet meeting to provide some additional information. They'll be available via chat through Google Classroom. So there's a lot of different options for how that student should check in. But ultimately, we're looking at 7 classes that a child has each day at the middle school and high school level, and somewhere between 20 minutes to a half an hour of work for each class is what we expect, with figuring in some additional time for perhaps chatting with the teacher, checking in even with classmates, things like that, so that you get to that grand total of approximately 4 hours per day.
So where would a parent set up his or her daughter's classroom? Because each house is different, so maybe talk
Absolutely
about that. And I don't know if you heard my dog barking in the background there, but there'll be things like that. So
absolutely.
I just tell my son or daughter that's just what we are and where we are with things, and that's just normal. So don't be discouraged by if there's a dog barking in the background. You're on a Google Meet or a Hangout with a teacher. It's okay. This is our new normal for now, and we don't need to apologize for that. So if you could talk about maybe the setup at home, some maybe tips that would help parents,
Sure. It all depends on what home looks like for each child, and we all know that that is different. Some of us have pets, some of us don't. If there's a place that children can work that is separate from a room with a television in it, a room where other things are going on, such as cooking or eating and things like that, that's ideal, but that's not perfect, and that's not something that everyone is able to do. So a great thing that you might be able to do is even just structure some times. If you figure a high school student's got maybe 4 hours a day, Perhaps you look at a couple of hours before lunch, a couple of hours after lunch, when the kitchen table is only for work time. Maybe there's a quiet corner. They just want to bring a pillow and a blanket and set up and work in that corner. Some students might have a desk that's available to them, and if they do, that's great. What I would avoid is trying to have your child go off into their bedroom and close their door. It's really important as much as possible, and certainly we understand parents have work schedules, life has to go on to some degree, but the more that you can monitor what your child is doing, the better success that your child is going to have, and the better you'll feel about what's going on as well, knowing what's going on in terms of their Zoom meetings, if they are meeting with teachers, in terms of what's being posted, setting that expectation that you will be checking in, that you'll be taking a look, that anytime you happen to walk by, you expect to see work up on the computer, not games, not chats with friends, things like that. But still understanding that we do need some flexibility. We still need kids to have that opportunity to socialize. At school, they get 45 minutes at lunch to hang out and chat with each other. So we want to understand also that it is okay for kids to talk to each other, for them to pull up a video chat or something like that, because we still want them to have access to that social interaction to the greatest degree possible too.
Great. So to your point about the devices, so we've sent home things like Chromebooks, iPads, that sort of thing. So just to be clear for the parents, these are used mainly for educational purpose. We really want to emphasize that it's important that these are brought home and these are a privilege for your son and daughter, these students of ours, to use to complete their schoolwork.
Right.
So please monitor their activity on there, because they're not allowed to download things. We put in filters in place and blocked a lot of things so that students can't go to some areas. But sometimes these things happen and new sites come up. So we're working our best.
Nothing is foolproof.
Right.
Yeah, we're trying our best on our end, and the more of a partnership we can have with parents and families, the better off we'll be for our kids. So if you find things, if you notice things that you're not too sure about, feel free to reach out to us. Try to contact us. We have been pretty good about getting back to parents and families when they have questions. So again, just feel free to reach out to us if there's something you aren't sure about. This is a time of uncertainty, and we're doing our best to figure out what new rules we're all playing by.
So we're going to move on to the next topic, which is Google Classroom, and that is the platform that we've adopted and been using for quite some time prior to this pandemic. And Google Classroom is kind of a central place where teachers can post their assignments, put in a stream of announcements and so forth, as well as some grading features. So it's important that your son or daughter logs into Google Classroom on Monday, the beginning of the week, and kind of look at the assignments, or daily, depending on how the teacher structures his or her classroom.
And again, as I said before, this is going to vary for a student who's in elementary school as compared to a student who's in middle school or high school. We're looking at things that are a bit more structured in middle school and high school. We recommend that those students check in at least daily in terms of looking at all of their classes. Sometimes teachers will post homework to be done every day, but sometimes they won't. It might be a longer term piece of work that they can do some today and some another day. But checking that Google Classroom certainly on Monday mornings between the hours of about 8:30 and 9 or so is when we've asked our teachers to start posting. That will give you an idea of what's expected for that day, and in some cases what may be expected for that week. You can see what the teachers are posting there. Some will post a video so that the students can access the information in ASL. Some teachers will do a written explanation of what they expect. Other teachers are going to perhaps do both. There may be some worksheets, there may be some instructions for an activity that the students are supposed to do. This is especially true in, say, a phys ed class. So there's going to be a variety of assignments that are posted, and a variety of ways in which the students are expected to complete those assignments. But again, keep in mind, we're looking at 20 minutes to a half an hour for each class. We really need to keep in mind that Google Classroom is this phenomenal educational platform, but it doesn't replace face-to-face teaching. And unfortunately, we're in a place right now where we simply can't do that. And for the most part, our whole country is in that place. Possibly even the whole world is in that place right now. So we're trying to do the best that we can. But please know what our main goal right now is: to maintain the education we have already provided for your child. We may not be able to teach amazing new things like we would if the child were in the classroom with us, but we're doing our best to maintain what we've already taught, to try to introduce small bits of new information to the best degree possible. But we have to understand that that's not going to happen in the same way it would in a face-to-face classroom. 20 minutes to a half an hour of work is not going to equal a 45-minute class where you're one-on-one or in a small group with the students. So while Google Classroom is a phenomenal platform, our teachers are posting there are videos, there are opportunities to do assignments there. I encourage both you and your child to check in as frequently as possible. Just know that it's not a replacement for our regular teaching in a regular classroom setting.
So how can parents get information of what's happening in their child's Google Classroom? Is there a way that a parent can say maybe the assignments that minus the child actually logging in and then they looking over their shoulder, which is what we really don't want them to do, because we wouldn't want a parent to walk in the classroom, right? Because we have to think of this as a
Absolutely.
classroom. We don't want them to be in the classroom, unless of course they're visiting for the day. But we want them
Right.
to be independent, open up his or her Chromebook, log in a Google Classroom. So how can a parent get that summary of, say, information?
So we actually have a wonderful website set up that has a whole lot of tech help posted there. All sorts of how-to videos. One of those videos relates to how, as a guardian, you can sign up to get notifications from Google Classroom, how you can sign in as a parent or guardian to see what work has been completed, what work is missing or has not been turned in yet. So there are a couple of different ways and different opportunities that parents can take advantage of in order to just sort of get a handle on what is being posted in Google Classroom. And if you are unsure of how to do this, if you try the how-to videos, but you're really not sure what to do yet, feel free to reach out to the teachers and contact them. Also on that website is a contact list for every teacher that is working with our children. So you can email them and directly and ask them for some help, or you can talk to any member of the academic hub and send one of us an email and ask us for some additional help as well. But I definitely recommend you take a look at some of those how-to videos, and we'll give you that as possible for yourself.
Fantastic. Excellent. So we have those resources, and I'll show you a page quickly of that screenshot and exactly where you can see those resources. So moving on to meetings, as we said earlier, these things aren't required, but recommending these students actually come to meet with us on Zoom or Google Hangouts or Google Meet, because we want to see their faces and we want to have them the opportunity to socialize or just ask questions around assignment or get some clarification around the schoolwork. Any tips for parents around Zoom or Google Meet?
So again, varies by age. With your younger students, you might want to be involved in a Zoom or Google Meet with your child, especially the really young ones. They're probably going to need a little bit of help, although it seems like kids take off and learn this stuff faster than the adults do these days. But most of the elementary school teachers are trying to make connections with the students several times a week via Zoom or Google Meet, depending on what platform works better for students or families. But know that Google Meets or Zooms are not required, but they're being offered. This is just another way we can make connections with our students, for teachers to reach out, for teachers to explain things. We have offered some small group meetings so that maybe a class might get together or a couple of students might check in at one time. And teachers have also offered one-on-one individual meetings to provide a little bit more in-depth information or instruction, or to help a student who is struggling with something, who can't figure something out. So there are a lot of options available. Again, it's not necessarily a requirement, but there's definitely a benefit to students participating in these to the greatest degree possible. They're going to understand more. They're going to pick up on more. It's information that's provided face-to-face. For students who require ASL, it's provided in a language that's easily accessible to them rather than reading everything in English. So there certainly are a lot of benefits to participating in a Zoom or a Google Meet. And again, going back to, if you have trouble with the technology, you're not sure how to make it work, check the how-to tips, but also check in with the teacher if you have any questions as well.
Great. So last piece, and I know some parents requested, how do we get updates as far as what's happening within the school? I know we're quickly approaching summer and things, and I know people are probably getting nervous that camp's going to be open, what's going to happen with the world. And for a lot of us, we don't know. But is there a place within the website or on a website where, as a parent, I can see updates from the school to communicate with parents? Are we closer to opening? Are we not? What's the health status of the school? Something to that effect?
Sure. So there's a lot of unknowns and uncertainties right now. The school has been really committed to the great transparency to the greatest degree possible. There's a whole lot we don't know. There's a whole lot none of us know. But as soon as we get updates and information, we try to share that with our community, which includes our parents and families, as soon as we can. Our executive director has been sharing frequent vlogs on our website. There's also text-based updates. So there's a health and safety section on our website that has been set up, and that's our main ASD website that has been set up. From there, you can also link to some other websites, and one of those is a website that we set up specifically for these continued educational opportunities at home, which is where you can then find some other how-to tips, some other at-home tips. If you're looking for some extra activities to do with students, especially the younger ones who may only have an hour to an hour and a half of academic work, there are some fun ideas for activities posted there. There's some information about using PBIS, which is our positive behavioral reinforcement system that we use when we're on campus. There are some ideas as to how you can adapt that at home as well. So I would definitely check out our ASD Health and Safety website for general updates. And then also from there, you can find the link to this parent website where you can get some additional information.
Fantastic. So I think I've covered the 3 areas here, and to Christa's point, there are resources available on the website. I will be placing pictures and video up here shortly. So, and if you, again, you have any questions, you can email the Academic Hub or the teachers if you have teacher emails directly. We prefer that you directly ask the teacher if there's concerns around the classroom, and then if it needs to be another question maybe related to technology, and we can certainly help you in that area. So I appreciate all your time.
Thank you. And a big thank you to all of our parents and families too, because I know this has been a very challenging time for us, and we understand that there are many frustrations. This is very stressful, and we really applaud all of you for doing the best that you can under the situation.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.